Hello, my sweet peas and sugar dumplings, and welcome to another episode of Talk and Tea with Auntie. Now, we have another fantastic guest we have here with us today who is going to show a fantastic perspective of an alternative lifestyle I think a lot of you also live in. Now, here we have Xander, who's going to give us a look into his life, himself, and the goth/alternative community, and music in general, and his life. Welcome, Xander. Hi, my love. How are you, baby?
Pretty damn awesome. Thank you for the invitation.
You are very welcome. Tell me about yourself, honey.
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, that's such a broad question.
How old are you?
I'm going to be close to 40. I'm 30. Actually, no. Am I going to be 39 this year? Yeah.
Really?
39.
Look at you. Botox is good, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Well, it's more the melanin, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So what took you into this alternative space?
So that all began when I started performing music. Started that a long time ago when I was little, very little. But around 14 or 15, I started getting more into the alternative scene, and I started playing guitar and singing. So those are kind of, the direction I went with my life for a little while, and then I ended up performing in some very good live bands, things like that in the metal scene. So a lot of like deathcore.
What is deathcore?
So deathcore is essentially like just nothing but screaming and yelling in the music. But it's a lot harder, like basically like very hard rock.
Okay, so you're basically blowing out your vocal cords.
Essentially, yeah, but I'm classically trained, so I know how to warm up.
So he's a classy death metal.
Yes, absolutely.
And so where was that transition that took you now into goth, I believe it is?
So I got more into the goth, probably, I want to say I was about 21 or 22-ish.
Okay.
I ended up living with a friend of mine, and I just started to express myself the way that I wanted to, because I came from a very corporate background where it was like you dress in a suit every day, and you just, you adhere like a buzz cut, very military style, because I come from a military family. And so it was like, okay, yeah, like you don't have long hair. That's too feminine or whatever. And so I was like, no, I'm just gonna do mohawk. Yeah. And I just started growing it out. And
so you still kind of have a buzzed cut.
I mean, absolutely. It's like the whole thing is like a buzz cut.
Except for the little strip. I actually did a kind of mohawk this time. Oh, I forgot to ask you, which cup would you like for the tea? This is an apple tea. Pay no attention to the taste of almond.
You know what? I'm going to go with my first inclination.
Oh, dark and spooky.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm stuck on something. There we go. Let me pour you some of the apple tea. Do not mind the almond taste. There you go. It's a very light, summery tea. And I will grab myself a cup as well. So,
smells delicious.
It is delicious. I've been drinking it all day, which unfortunately, with the bladder of a gnat, leads to the obvious consequences. So, in the goth scene, have you only been a part of the goth scene here in San Antonio, or have you had the chance to experience other goth scenes throughout the country?
So I traveled for a while performing as in the EDM circuit, but I was doing like my own variation of dubstep. So I was DJing and producing music. When I was doing this, a buddy of mine in Austin, we had just played some shows. It was like midnight. We had already been drinking, so we were a little buzzed. We decided, hey, why don't we just take a cruise or a drive across the country and just go to Cali?
That's not a cruise.
I know, absolutely. Of course, we were drunk, so of course we were just like, okay, cool. And then we sobered up, took off, ended up in California, and oh my God, the goth scene out there was just on a whole nother level. Like it was so badass. The club we went to was Bar Sinister. Okay, so because of the connections that I had with the music industry, I texted a couple people, posted some stuff on Facebook. A bunch of my friends that were in bands happened to be in town. And they were like, oh yeah, like hit us up. So we're bouncing around on Hollywood Boulevard. One of my other friends, she was a photographer for a bunch of the bands that would go on tour. And she was like, hey, I happen to be in town. I'm gonna go ahead and meet up with you. So I was like, okay, cool. So she got ready. I texted her, she was like, meet me at this location, we're gonna pick you up. They came and scooped me up. We ended up going to Bar Sinister. She made a phone call real quick. I mean, there was like a huge line around this place. It was a really massive building. Guy comes out, he's like, hey, I'm gonna get you guys in, because he was the host for the event. We walk in, and I mean, just this place was huge. I mean, there's like hundreds of people here. They had cage dancers, different models, porn stars, like all kinds of stuff. It was just a totally different level. They even had an area that you were not allowed to take photos because it was a kink only area. and it was like
I would not know
very,
anything
very
about that.
taboo.
I would not know anything about it.
It was awesome. Like I was just like, wow.
And when did this happen?
This was circa 2013.
Okay, so you were still a little baby.
Yeah, I was like in my early 20s. Yeah, I was still very young.
Oh God.
And I was getting exposed to this, and it was like we were sitting at a restaurant eating pizza, and I realized I'm like super far from anyone that I know, like as far as family, and it was just like it hit me. I was like, wow, like, this is the furthest I've been.
1,000 miles away.
Yeah, it was a very surreal moment.
That is incredible. And what type of, for people that don't know, because I'm pretty sure there are going to be people watching who don't know, what exemplifies goth? What is goth to you?
I feel like it's a lot of aesthetics, but it's also the type of music. For me, it's more like the music, and then also just kind of carrying yourself that way, like more of like the aesthetics, and also just like being into that style or that music. Just, I mean, like piercings, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Just identifying like that.
And during this journey, what is the most off the wall thing you have wound up during this journey that is your life of Xander?
What do you mean? Like,
just in general.
like most off the wall. I don't know. I feel like everything is off the wall pretty much. Just kind of all over the place.
Throw one out there. Let's see.
I'm not entirely sure. I feel like some of the experiences that I've had, like when I was traveling, for example, like we ended up in Vegas at one point during this trip. And while we were there, the guy that I was hanging out with at the time, of course, in hindsight, you know, I probably shouldn't have been hanging out because he's partying kind of hard. We ended up in Vegas, and he gave me $10. He was like, I was total crust punk at the time, so I didn't have any cash on me at all.
What is crust punk?
Basically, you're totally broke. You have nothing to your name. I had nothing but the clothes on my back and the instruments and that we were carrying that. And so we go to Vegas. He's like, here's $10. You don't have to pay me back. And I was like, all right, cool. Turned the $10 into like 200, gave him his $10 back. And he went on a complete like just spree of betting constantly to the point where we were negative at that point. I gave him my money, and he ended up owing like thousands of dollars. It was crazy. Come to find out though, he was a trust fund kid. I was like, wow, that's
so daddy's gonna pay.
That was cool. Like that's his gig. I just didn't know.
Daddy help me. Daddy help.
It was crazy. It was really crazy.
Hello, my loves, and welcome to another Thrifting Tips and Tricks with your Gay Auntie. We're at 1604 in Blanco here in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm here to give you the biggest tip you can always have, well, one of them, and that is have fun and let your eye be your guide. When you're going through those aisles and something catches your eye, go for it. Like I did with these two things. Wasn't what I was looking for, but they are definitely something I will wear, and look how vibrant they are. And have fun. Make this a joyful experience. Enjoy it and be creative with whatever you may be searching for. This should be a fun experience, and the more fun you allow yourself to have, the more fun it will be and the greater things you will find. I love you. You take care. And so what is your hobbies now? Now that you're about to be pushing 40.
Yeah, I'm very close to 40.
Very close. It's knocking at your door.
Yes, it is, absolutely. So the hobbies that I have currently, I do a lot of computer tech work, but I'm really passionate about video games. And then obviously I host events downtown here in San Antonio, so that way I can kind of build my own community of goths that are more classy, because some of the scenes that we've been a part of, you know, we were in our early 20s, and it was like crust punks, gutter punks, you know, stuff like that. That was just like people that you wouldn't normally associate with.
Yeah.
And so I want to facilitate something a little bit more classy and something that people can actually enjoy, regardless of their age. It doesn't matter if you're like pushing 40. It doesn't matter if you're like in your 60s, as long as you like the music.
I don't know why you motioned to me when you said pushing 40.
I didn't emotion to you. I was talking about myself.
That's just him. That's just him.
Absolutely.
My Botox says different. And what is the name of this type of event you are currently
So
working?
I currently host Ritual, The website for that is ritualsa.com. So we post all of the events, we post the photos, pretty much anything that we're going to be doing. And sometimes we do events like pub crawls, and sometimes they're just like pop-ups.
When's your next one?
It's going to be July the 6th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's every first Saturday here in San Antonio.
Right around my birthday, July the 4th.
Oh, nice.
I know.
We're going to be celebrating your birthday that night.
Oh, that's going to be. I'm not going to remember that night. Last time I didn't remember that my birthday was 30th. 30th birthday.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Somebody had bought me a goblet, and they were just pouring all my drinks into this goblet. And I was drinking. It was just, at the end of the night, it was just basically one massive, what are those things called? Long Island.
Oh, wow.
They're like, here's the vodka soda, here's this, here's that, and they're just pouring it all in one cup. Do I remember after about midnight? No, I do not. And I just, that was my 30th. And so for you, in this, what is your current favorite game that you're playing?
So far, I have two, and I got sucked back into one.
Which one?
Ark Survival Ascended, which is absolutely terrible. I do not advise anybody play this game, only because it will take up all of your time. It is crazy.
What is Ark Ascended?
So Ark Survival Ascended is essentially just a glorified survival game with dinosaurs. Think fun. Jurassic Park, but like way worse.
And what makes it worse?
The player base. The player base is very toxic.
Really?
Incredibly toxic.
And you went back to it?
Yes.
Should we open this up to therapy? Do we need to unbox this?
Absolutely.
Okay, get my notepad. Cassandra, get my notepad. And so what does somebody in the alternative scene do for a living?
So
You
a lot of the people that we meet are all very similar backgrounds. Like they either own businesses or hold like prestigious positions with other companies. Like I know one of them, she had her own business doing graphic design.
Oh, really?
And so we meet people that are in very similar backgrounds.
And you are working tech, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay.
I own a company that does like professional hacking. We work with the local community as far as the counties.
I have my apartment under a firewall. So.
Yeah, we've done stuff with Bexar County, Valverde County, and we just get contracted out to do different stuff with them. So if they need us to like...
How did you learn those skills?
Video games. Absolutely through video games.
And so let's dial back a little bit. Who was baby Xander? Little boy Xander. What was he like growing up?
Total nerd.
Really?
Yeah, total nerd.
Yeah? No Riz, as the kids call it. Riz
No Riz.
No Riz.
Yeah, no Riz whatsoever.
Where did the Riz come in?
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like I'm still that little kid because
Really?
I get that like it's like you never really grow out of that because like I used to get bullied all the time. You get
You're
beat
about
up.
my height, correct?
Well, I was about like so it was like I was a lot shorter back then and I was a lot skinnier, and so like people would just pick on me, and it didn't matter if it was girls or guys. Like everybody picked on me.
We're Hispanic. We're not built big. Just FYI.
Yeah, so I was just like picked on constantly, and then at some point it changed. I don't know if it was in high school, or I feel kind of like it wasn't in high school. It was like after I got out of high school. I think I was a late bloomer.
Okay.
And so it was just like...
And so you were a complete nerd. What was your nerddom back then?
Diablo 2.
Oh my God, I haven't heard that.
I was playing
in a
Diablo
minute.
2 and StarCraft a lot.
I do know StarCraft. I love... Wait, what faction?
So I would play Protoss.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, Protoss is my go-to, so...
I tried doing Zerg. I'm like, this is a lot of micromanagement.
It is incredibly macro and micro. Yes.
I can just leave the Protoss and have my cannons and we're good. Just
Yes.
leave me alone. I'm going to spam these cannons and my carriers and I'm good.
Yes, that's about it. Yeah.
Oh, back then. Oh, I remember those good old days. And they came out with StarCraft 2.
And then I was skating all the time. That was the thing to do every Friday night.
Really?
Yeah.
Skating.
Roller skating.
Oh, like actual. Oh,
Like
no,
actual
not,
roller skating.
Not like I'm on a skateboard.
I could do that, and I did that too. But I would go to interact with other kids
So
and
you lived
stuff.
on the south side.
Yeah.
There's a skating rink. I keep getting caught. Are we good? We're good. There's a skating rink on the south side. Is it the one off of 35?
Yeah. Or what is it? 37. 37 in Goliad.
Oh God. I'm not one to judge by what side somebody's from what side of town somebody's from. I never would do that. But if I were to, I can't say nothing. I'm from Corpus Christi, so you know.
That's fair enough.
You know, we have a reputation for ourselves there. And so, growing up, being this nerd, is that what drew you into tech, or did you always want? Did you want? No, always knew you were going to wind up in tech.
No, I didn't.
Where did you think you were originally going to wind up?
Originally, I thought I was going to be like working on vehicles.
Really?
Yeah, like because I actually went for dual credit classes in high school to learn how to work on older cars.
Really?
Yeah, so I can actually do stuff with the older car. We did like 2 or 3 engine drops.
Oh, cool.
And I was one of the main people that was like putting stuff back together because I can look at something visually and memorize it and then take it apart and put it back together. It's really weird.
Are you autistic too?
No, I don't know.
I'm kidding. Not all of us are autistic. Just hyper ADHD.
I feel like it was something that was kind of trained into me too, because I used to go to like, my parents were like, okay, so I come from a military family, and they were like extremely hell-bent on you need to go to school, get a good job, get a degree, blah, blah, blah. So I was constantly in summer schools when I was a kid growing up, and there was a school that I was going to, and they were training us to have a photographic memory. I didn't know it at the time.
I wish I had that.
I didn't know it at the time. But what they would do is they would have like a screen would be up and they'd have a projector and they would have a series of numbers and letters and stuff like that, just totally random assortment. And they would only flash it for like half a second. And you would have to look at it, watch it, and then you would have to write down what you saw. Oh. And if you got all of them, you tally up your points and they would give you candy. So you get a reward at the end of that.
I like candy.
Yeah, so it was just something different. Like at the end of the class, as soon as you were done with the class for the day, they would do this at the end, and then you could leave.
Huh. I never had that.
I didn't know that was what it was, but looking back on it now, it's like, oh, that was totally to teach us to be able to memorize what we saw.
Huh. See, I was just giving more reading because they're like, you're annoying the other kids because you keep finishing everything too quick. I'm like, well, that's just ADD, baby. We learned that later. My mom was like, just keep him stimulated. Go outside. And so when did the transition into tech happen for you?
I think that happened around 2008.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was like 2007, 2008. At that time, I ended up joining up with a band. When I joined up with the band, I became really good friends with the bass guitarist, and then he introduced me to a whole bunch of attorneys and stuff that his work, and then it just kind of trickled out from there.
That way.
Yeah.
And back to the music. What is your preferred music you enjoy, and what is your least music you enjoy?
Okay, so I would say if I listen to a lot of music, it's probably like more 80s, like Depeche Mode and stuff like that. Stuff that you can sing along to. And least, I don't touch any country music at all. I have zero country music.
We're in Texas. It's like peak emo.
I mean, yeah, it is really peak emo, but I don't listen to it.
No offense to anybody that loves country music. I enjoy country music.
Or emo music.
I mean, that would be the night that I will fall. Anyway. And so you like what would be your second favorite music? Or what is a genre that you personally think is underrated that you would love to either fall in love more with or would love to see more recognition for?
I'd say like industrial music.
Really?
A lot of that stuff is very I feel like it's very underrated. I think the only one that's really known for that was, what's that one German band?
Florence and the Machine.
No.
I'm kidding.
Now I'm drawing a blank. It's going to bug me now.
You'll just say it later.
It'll come back to me.
I'll get an email randomly. I can already tell.
It'll come back to me eventually. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of bands that are really well known. Rammstein.
There we go. I know that one.
Yeah.
I love that one. And so, are there any local bands that do goth music here in San Antonio or in
Not
Texas?
really.
Even? Really?
Not really. It's very sparse.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sad. Are there any underground things here in San Antonio that are interesting or no? San Antonio, sometimes there are things that are underground. They're like, oh fuck, what the heck is this?
Depends on your taste. Underground, the BDSM community here is crazy, and
we have that here?
Yes, we have a very big BDSM community. There's actually like 2 or 3 other places that recently popped up because there's so many of them, but they're very underground. And it's like you could do anything at these places. It's crazy. It's pretty awesome.
I mean, as someone who's partaken, I'll neither confirm nor deny I have or have not partaken in that community. I kind of find it, well, it makes sense that it's more underground here, considering sometimes the overt sexuality of San Antonio does not come. It's very much like, don't be that sexual.
Yeah. I was at a function for lots of attorneys.
Oh,
No, it was an
okay.
actual
Oh, it's
function.
an actual function. I
Yeah, it
was
was an actual. It was a
function.
It was a professional function for the legal community here in San Antonio. It's
know
hosted every few years and whatnot. I was there, and I was not in my alternative persona per se, but one of the I won't give away what she was doing, but one of the court officials, we'll just leave it at that, came up to me and was like, "I know you." And I was like, I looked at her and I didn't recognize her at all. I had no idea who this person was. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, who are you? She's like, "You don't recognize me? I am, I found you on this." And it was a website for that underground community. And she happened to know all of my, like, everything about me and the stuff that I had done in that community. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, "You were totally professional." Like, I would not have expected that.
Very eyes wide shut, I will say that.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, there is a thing about people being in suits and having the secret desires.
That's very true. That is very true.
Especially in San Antonio. Not that
Yes.
I know or anything like that. I was shocked when he just told me. Absolutely shocked and dismayed. That's such a God-loving community.
And everybody's kinky in this community. It's crazy.
It really is. I mean, when you're in a community that's based off of Catholicism, a religion that has a lot of guilt,
Yep.
be a good boy.
That's very true.
And so let's circle back around to this ritual that you're would you call it an organization or a event space or an event facilitator? What would you call it?
It's a mixture. It's kind of a mixed bag of all of that. What I want to facilitate with ritual is to have people like us, for example, that are just trend-setting and making things work or happen. Whatever visions we have, we just set it in motion and we get it done. And of course, professional backgrounds and things like that. More classy.
Yeah,
So-
people with a 401k. We're too old to be doing anything else. Not that I have a 401k. I'm just
Neither
hoping
do.
eventually I die. But yeah. But there's and that's true because being old, when you hit a certain age, you can't keep up with. You can try to keep up with the kids.
Absolutely.
You can
And
do
You
it.
can do it for a little while.
But
Yeah.
there's a point where your body's like, dude, baby, you're not leaving the house for the next 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, hangovers take a lot longer to get over
They
at this
really
point.
do. When did that hit you? Because you're a little bit older than me.
I would say like I started noticing that in my 30s.
Yeah.
Compared to my 20s, like
I don't
where
think
I could go out and like I could drink like binge drink for like a week and then I'd be like solid and then just stop and then I'm good for the rest of the month. And you just pick up and go.
Yeah, no,
But, like,
I had
yeah.
moments where I would drink till like 4 in the morning on Sunday because we did Sunday Fun Day, started at 2, didn't end until 4 in the morning. I had to be at work at 6 or
Yep.
7, and I'd be full suit, just like, yeah, we're great.
There were Thursday nights. There was a club here in San Antonio that was facilitating like a little bit of industrial music, some goth stuff, but it was like new wave, 80s kind of vibe, and it was targeted at the college crowd. And I was like 23 at the time.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, so we would go and do this on a Thursday night, get completely trashed. Next day, you're back at like in the office working, if you even slept. I had one of our friends would just get completely annihilated, and then he wouldn't schedule the next day off. He'd just show up and work straight through the day, and as soon as he got home, he went to sleep.
Honestly, I can't say much because when I first worked for a law firm as a file clerk, not the legal secretaries, the paralegals would be like, let's go do happy hour.
Yeah.
Happy hour would last till 2 in the morning, and then I'd have to go I was working at a law firm called Lewis Brisbois Bisgarden Smith. Say
It's a
that
lot
two
to
times.
say
It's a
in
lot to
one
fucking say. It was before another law firm, and we would just walk in just like, todo tirado, just like, and nobody's talking. We're just like, I'm filing, just drop filing. Nathan, how are you? I'm like, and it wasn't really a hangover. It was more my body's like, dude, you're tired.
Yeah.
And I take naps in the back up against the Enron files. Enron. Yeah, we had Enron files. I don't know what we did for them because we did toxic tort litigation.
Oh, now you're realizing what you were doing.
I mean, I know we were the bad guy. I knew we were the bad guys in Aaron Brockovich. They made me do a depot transcript, and I was listening to it. This is sad. The guy's been dead for like 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, it was sad. But anyway, back to you. In this journey that you've experienced, what has been one of your favorite parts of this experience, either self-exploration? What would you say has been the most fulfilling part, whether it's career,
That's an easy one. Exploring my sexuality. That
Really?
was the liberating thing. Yeah.
Talk about it more.
So, so I ended up getting married, and during that time, it was like a whole bunch of learning experiences and things like that. But realizing that there are certain, like, I guess, aspects or things about myself that I accepted and ended up exploring with her.
That's beautiful.
And it just made it so much easier. Like when I first met her, like we were going to this one nightclub that's no longer here called Atomics.
Okay.
And so there was like the goth spot, back in the day. And so we were there, and we ended up picking up her first girlfriend with me. And this was like 2 weeks into our relationship.
Oh my God.
So she kind of
So y'all are poly, it sounds like.
not poly,
Not poly.
just women, because she likes women and I like women.
Fair.
So it's very like.
You're making my Botox come undone. My face is trying to do a facial expression. Well, that's beautiful. As long as it works for you and everything's consenting, of course it's beautiful. And so y'all been together for how many years now?
Going on 15, I think.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I forget people have been together that long. Because we're at that age where people can't date.
Yes, we are.
And do y'all have any children during this?
Yes, I got 3.
Oh my God, you're
Yeah.
busy.
Oldest is 14, the youngest is going to be 6.
Oh, babies. And so during this exploration, was it just sexuality or the things you enjoy sexually in and of itself?
It would probably be a mixed bag. Yeah, very, very mixed bag.
And are you saying you were much more conservative once upon a time and now you're much more, I guess, liberated? Or
I was incredibly, just very in a box.
missionary only?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much, because I grew up Catholic. I grew up in a military family, so it was like everything was very rigid. You don't have sex before marriage. Don't do these things.
I never have.
Yeah, you don't do any of that stuff because it was just completely taboo.
And so y'all got together, you're what, 38, 39 now? About to be 39. So 15 years. I'm not good at shapes, so that's 20.
I got with her when I was about 22 or 23.
Okay, so you're much younger. Okay, I'm not good at shapes, so don't ever make me do arithmetic.
Yeah, I think she was about 21 or 22.
And so it's been a 15-year-long exploration of yourself. And what have you found about yourself in this process?
I can do anything I put my mind to.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what are these things that you've done during, that you've put your mind to that you did once upon a time didn't realize you could do or would do?
Being more extroverted, I guess, and being able to go to places and just doing the things that this came to mind, I had an idea, let's just make it happen.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And real quick, we're going to do a quick little break, and I hate to interrupt, but we're going to go into our talent segment, where we're going to showcase local talent, either singers, stand-up comics, magicians, for you to enjoy as a little break in between the interview. So we will have it come up, and I hope you enjoy. And we're back. I hope you enjoyed that performance. I sure did. We're back with Xander. Xander, tell me more about the music industry in general. What are some of the places you enjoy the music community that you've traveled throughout the United States?
So Cali would be my first.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Oh, of course.
But a very close second is Austin.
Really?
But this would be circa 2012 to 2013.
Baby, that was like a decade ago.
Yeah. It's not quite the same now.
Yeah.
It's gotten very oversaturated. There's a lot of, basically transplants from every other place you can think of that are in Austin. But it was just totally different. The music scene here, for example, in San Antonio, like we couldn't find like dubstep, for example. So I ended up starting EDM nights at another club that was on the north side, and it picked up. We had like Darude and a whole bunch of like famous people that eventually came through. But you couldn't hear anything like that here in San Antonio. You had to go to Austin.
Is the music scene here in San Antonio growing or not?
It's grown a little bit, but it's still pretty much metal.
Okay.
And like top 40. It's very vanilla.
I mean, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. What would you hope would happen with San Antonio's music scene? Because I know San Antonio as a whole is slowly growing as
It
is
is.
San Antonio.
It is. It's still growing. I feel like there's just not anybody that's innovative enough to push stuff, which is where I'm coming in with my stuff.
And do you think they all leave San Antonio for other pastures?
They do. They do. A lot of people go to Houston or they go to Dallas for goth events.
Okay.
And things like that. Or like, you know, even for EDM, EDM is starting to kind of pick up here, but the scene for that is so small and it just doesn't really go anywhere. And some of the DJs that they have are just not the quality, but if you go to Austin, you have that quality and you have that you know, the audience for it basically.
And so this is as somebody who enjoys music but is not connoisseur in the same way. What is considered quality for people that don't quite know the difference?
Somebody that has like an expertise behind it. You can just hear it in the way that they do things. They're not mixing it where it's like jumping from one song to another.
Okay.
You can tell that they've produced some of the music. It's very unique. Things that you wouldn't normally hear, you know, on the radio or just like in the top 40 circuits. But even listening to their music, it's like you can tell it's like professionally quality, you know, like everything's great.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you know, recorded correctly. The sounds of it are just really clean and crisp. You have to have like a musician's ear to it to
I think that
like hear that.
I agree with the uniqueness is something I can pick up because I've gone to a few in the gay scene. The gay scene here is pretty stagnant. I love San Antonio's gay scene. It's very casual. But the problem is I have noticed that they try to do these things called circuit parties. Not necessarily my full cup of tea. If any of you watching right now remember Queer as Folk, that's that on steroids.
Okay.
Typically in other cities. But here the music, I've gone to one and it wasn't a circuit party, it was more like just a DJ with his own sound. And I could tell it was his sound. It was unique in his way. Versus I've heard DJs that predominantly play here, and this is not crapping on them. I get that they're trying to play to a demographic. Maybe I am. Who knows? Bless their hearts. But the music is indistinguishable from anything I hate to say it, plug in from my iPhone and put into a speaker. And there may be something slightly different, but if you're not listening to it, if you're not listening for that slight difference, you're not going to hear it. Versus other ones where my one and only circuit party where it was a spectacle. The music, yes, it was the EDM style, but you could tell it wasn't just, you know, certain music all kind of just blends. Some of it blends together when that's how it is. But you could tell this is a specific set that is within this genre. And I could tell this is a different set than something else.
Yep.
And then there was a full production behind it. I think there was a dragon that came down from the ceiling.
That's also part of it, is the visuals and things like that. Yeah.
And what more would it take for things like of all music genres to grow more in San Antonio? Do you think that would ever happen here?
People need to be a little bit more open-minded, and I believe, from my experience, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the audience. A lot of people here want to hear EDM. They want to hear goth music. There's people here for it. The problem is that the nightclubs are so fixated on just doing pandering to the bare minimum that they will only do that like top 40 because it's just so encompassing, because they're just desperate to get whatever they can get a lot of the time, that they don't change anything, and they don't want to change that formula because it's been working for them for so long.
Which every night out feels like the same night out as it was the year before.
Yeah, and even in the gay clubs, the straight clubs, everything just sounds the same.
Most of the gay clubs here do give you the bare minimum. They smell like pee and an even. No, don't none of you, don't y'all come for me, gay bars. I'll probably be disallowed from some of them. But that ain't my problem that your bars smell like pee. Then that's very fascinating. And do you think eventually there'll be a shift? I know there's been a shift of people from Austin to here.
Yes, there has.
Do you think that influx will change the demographic here?
It's been changing the demographic.
Really?
And slowly, like, some of the gay clubs are starting to pander more to the goth community and things like that, because they see that a lot of the community for goth, BDSM, and the gay culture, they all kind of blend in together.
Yeah.
And so they go hand in hand. And so it's like, oh, this is perfect for that community to encompass that in there. But it's just taken some time.
San Antonio, I call her the grandmother of all the cities because she's 300 years old and she moves at her pace.
Yes, that's a very good way to look at it.
She's the oldest city in
Absolutely.
Texas, which honestly I've noticed it in the gay community where it's becoming more queer in terms of just like queerness, like people dressing non-conformingly,
Yes.
like I do, but being more accepting and in terms of that, because there was a time probably about like I think 8 years ago where that wasn't really a thing. You
That's
could
fair,
always
yeah.
dress more masculine presenting in order to be courted. But I am seeing more people dressing in a queer way, which is what I call it. I may be calling it incorrectly, but I call it a queering of the gay community, LGBTQI plus community here, which I personally love. It just takes time.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, what's on the horizon outside of ritual for you? In general?
More video games.
More video
More
games?
video
More
games,
video
yeah.
games?
I wanna experience more genres in that too. It's a fun little hobby.
But you got sucked back into a game that
Yeah.
you I think you said you weren't going to.
I did say I was not gonna play that game, and I got sucked back
How many
into
days
it.
have you been playing it now?
About 4 days,
Oh,
3
and
days. So it's not.
how many hours a day?
I've been putting that off. It's technically days, but I come back to it every so often. So maybe like 10 hours total. Because
Total.
I've been leaving and kind of letting them do their thing. So yeah,
Over 4 days.
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
judging. I'm not one to judge anything. I would never do that. I just have questions and concerns.
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand.
So you started with Diablo and StarCraft, which StarCraft is a RTS.
Yes.
Where did that spur towards after that? Did you continue with other RTSs, go into RPG?
I played those games.
World of Warcraft on you.
I played those games for a while, and then I got into WoW. I was playing Quake.
Yeah.
So it was like Quake and all the FPS games, things like that. I got into Quake really hardcore for a while too.
Yeah.
And I got really good at that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I had some crazy clips online with me doing that stuff when I was streaming all kinds of stuff, but with the games, but I didn't really take it seriously or anything like that. So
What's the game that has kept its hold on you for the longest? Or either you keep returning to it or you stayed with it for the longest?
I'd probably say like World of Warcraft.
Really? I forget it still exists because I used to play WoW too.
Yeah.
I forget it exists.
Yeah, now I haven't been playing it lately, but I got sucked back into that a couple months ago.
I forget what expansion we're on now. Last one I played was Cataclysm.
I think we're in Dragonflight.
What does that mean?
So there's dragons now. All the time aspects or the dragon aspects, those are now available to fight with and all that stuff.
Oh, I gotta do this, so forgive me. Nerd.
Yeah. No, I seriously am just like.
You're still a nerd.
Yeah.
You're still, which is wonderful. Nerds grow up, and that is a wonderful thing that we all should remember. I'm one. We're just not in my nerd room right now.
That's fair.
So tell me more about other interests and hobbies, or they just stay within the music, or do you have any other mundane hobbies that you enjoy?
I guess mundane. I feel like
don't
everything's
crochet?
kind of mundane.
You don't crochet, you don't.
No, I've been encouraged to start a book talk.
Okay.
So I'll probably.
I don't know who did that. I don't know who did that.
And I'll be covering horror books, splatterpunk, and then like supernatural, ghosts, vampires, obviously, you know. So.
I never would have guessed you would have been into vampires at all.
No.
No, you
Or playing V Rising.
or playing V Rising. I am playing V Rising, and it's a very fun game. Highly recommend if you like something that's vampiric mixed with Minecraft. Honestly,
Yeah,
you know,
the PvE server. That's not too bad.
you just got to learn how to build something.
I'm terrible at that.
So before we end, at the end of, what would you tell somebody? Just advice that you would give from your life and your experiences. What would you give? What advice would you give out to the world?
Keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. I like that. On that note, thank you, my lovies, for joining us for another episode of Talkin' Tea with Auntie. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for another episode. And remember, if you want to support this endeavor of mine and this comfy, cozy talk show for adults, go to my Patreon at patreon.com/ShiningNathan. Until then, keep safe, take care of yourself. I love you, and drink your water.